You know that feeling when something happens and your life is just split? Suddenly there's a before and an after. Well, today we're going to dive into exactly that. We're going to explore how a single tarot card and a distant planet can actually help us understand those huge pivotal moments. So, what's the deal? What in the world unites a tarot card, a far-off planet, and those massive life moments? The ones about love, family, money. It seems random, right? Well, let's unravel that mystery together. Okay, so let's start with our two main players. First up, we've got the Judgment card from the tarot. If you're familiar with tarot, you know it's this amazing symbolic system for mapping out life's journey, and this card, it's all about finality and rebirth. Then, its astrological partner in crime is Pluto, and Pluto is way out there. It's the outermost planet, literally the threshold of our solar system, before you hit, well, the vast emptiness of deep space. And that word right there, threshold. That's the key to this whole thing. A threshold is a point of no return. It's that sharp dividing line between the before and the after, where one part of your life ends and something totally new begins. Now, this whole idea of a threshold, it's not just some nice metaphor. We see this pattern pop up everywhere, from ancient myths all the way to modern physics. It's like it's a fundamental blueprint for transformation in the universe. Let's just look at how this connects two worlds that seem completely separate. In mythology, right, Pluto is the god of the underworld. That's a pretty definitive end to the earthly journey. But then you jump over to physics and you see the exact same principle. It's called a phase transition. It's just like ice crossing a threshold to become water. Both are about a total transformation across a boundary. See the connection? All right, so how does this big transformation actually happen? Well, in this way of looking at things, it's basically a kind of alchemy. It's a powerful reaction between two elemental forces, water and fire. And just to be clear, we're not talking about literal H2O and flames. In this system, water represents our inner world, our emotions, our experiences, our habits, our whole way of life. And fire? That's the catalyst. It's that big external event, or maybe our own passionate drive, that comes along and forces the water to change. Let's make this super simple. Think about melting ice. So your life, or a part of it, can be kind of frozen, stuck in a fixed state. That's step one, ice. Then along comes the heat, that fire of passion or a major life event. You apply that heat, and that's step two. And what's the result? The ice melts. It transforms into a new fluid state, water. Your inner world has just crossed a massive threshold. And look, a shift this profound doesn't happen quietly. It's not a secret. If you look at the Judgment card, there's an angel's trumpet that shakes the air. And in this system, air stands for our shared space, our relationships, our communities, the social rules we live by. So a true transformation of this magnitude, it sends ripples, big ones, through our entire world. So I know this might all sound a little mystical or abstract, but it actually applies to some of the most powerful, gut-wrenching, and amazing experiences we have in our lives. So let's get real and look at the actual thresholds we all face. And here's a really fascinating little detail. The name Pluto in Latin, it also means wealth. That's not a coincidence. It points directly to one of the most powerful catalysts for change that exists in our lives. So what are these huge thresholds? Well, the sources really boil it down to three of humanity's most common and powerful points of no return: money, sex, and the birth of children. Think about it. A huge financial windfall or loss, a truly transformative sexual experience, bringing a child into the world. Every single one of those events absolutely divides your life into a before and an after. There's no going back. They are, for all intents and purposes, real-life judgment cards. But there's one last, really crucial layer to all of this. Because, let's be honest, transformation isn't always easy. And our attachments to the material world, well, they can change the entire equation. So when we bring the earth element into the mix, we're talking money, comfort, all those sensory pleasures, that alchemical process suddenly gets a lot more complicated. On one hand, these things ground us, but on the other, they can make us really, really resistant to change. Let's go back to that boiling water example. To turn pure water into steam, it takes a specific amount of energy, right? But what happens if you add salt to the water, which is a perfect stand-in for our earth element? Well, the boiling point goes up. You need more energy, more fire to get that same transformation. It becomes harder to change. And it works the exact same way in our lives, a life that's full of earthly attachments, of comforts, of wealth. It just requires a bigger catalyst to trigger real profound change. We're essentially raising the bar for the fire of passion. We need a much more intense event to shake us out of that comfortable frozen state. So, all of this, it really brings us to one final, very personal question. Now that you understand this alchemy of change, you have to ask yourself, what threshold are you standing in front of? What point of no return is waiting for you? And what's it going to take for you to be ready to cross it?